A wonderful good morning to everyone. Bitcoin at 63,300 US dollars, and what a start to the new trading week it was yesterday. After we talked early on about how this area up here is definitely a good sell zone around 65,300 US dollars, which is also the golden pocket. I'll draw it in again here. That was in the end the sell zone, perfectly into the golden pocket all the way up to the 0.786. That would have been the perfect close essentially. Did we reach the golden pocket yesterday? And since then, the position is up over 3%, or rather Bitcoin has dropped 3% since then. And that was exactly what I said on Monday or yesterday. This whole weekend move, which again happened here without really strong volume, is ultimately just another trap to set up the whole turnaround again on Monday. With that, happy profits and a wonderful good morning to everyone here. There's quite a bit to discuss. The stock markets had a bigger sell-off yesterday, it has to be said. Meanwhile, Take-Two and one or two other stocks, on the other hand, performed very, very well. We'll definitely take a look at those in today's video, and I'll also give you a bit more insight there. Crypto, neither here nor there, nothing really substantial. We'll definitely take a look at that now, but before we get started, as always, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, feel free to join the free Telegram group as well, either the Talk and Signal group or directly the TA and Signal group. There, you'll always get the latest updates, for example, whenever I take profits or open new positions, or in general, what I'm doing with my trades. So feel free to join the free group. And now I'd say, let's jump right in. So as I said, Bitcoin has had its sell-off, down 3%, perfect. Please take some profits. I already posted this in the group yesterday. Please take profit one so that you're secured, just so we're not taking any risks or anything like that. The long position is still running. Down here is our entry. We'll move the box over here so you can still see where the original entry was. Up here, we'll make the box gray now because, as I said, the order has been replaced. And yes, exactly. So at least take profit one, if not even profit two. Otherwise, take profit two would be down here at around 62,000 US dollars. So what are some of the reasons? Let's take a look at that. So the talks between the US and Iran are going relatively well. Iran is allowed to sell oil, which it's kind of been doing all along anyway, or maybe not. No idea. Stock slumps on tech sell-off, oil edge is lower. So oil is falling, which is actually good for inflation or generally for the PCE prices, which are also coming out this week on Thursday or Wednesday. And today there are also a few important economic data releases if we take a quick look at those, namely the where do we have it? Here, namely the Purchasing Managers Index. So we need to take a closer look at that at 3:45 p.m. to see what's happening there in terms of a possible recession or a weakening of the economy and such. But as I said, we'll definitely take a look at that. More important is that oil is definitely falling, and also the tech stocks have come under significant pressure. We'll take a look at those towards the end of the video. You know, we always start with crypto, Forex, and the regular indices. And at the end, we move on to the stocks. That was quite something yesterday. So Google lost a lot. I think NVIDIA also experienced a bigger sell-off, and Palantir as well. But Palantir has entered an interesting zone. We'll definitely take a closer look at that in just a moment. In any case, another important point. Japan's 5-year bond sale draws soft demand on rate hike fears. Bonds in Japan remain uninteresting, and that's exactly the problem Japan is currently facing. No one wants to buy bonds, only notes. If we look at the daily chart, we're already moving in that direction again. All-time high for the 2-year bonds. The 10-year bonds are rising. And what about here now? Also interesting, you remember what I said yesterday. In Japan, everything is still running relatively smoothly. But even here, we're now seeing a bit of this point of no return. Short-term notes are rising, long-term ones are falling. Not really good. We look at the USA, and now for the first time after a few days, we have to say the picture is a bit reversed again. The longer-term bonds are rising, but what about here? Also interesting, the short-term ones are rising, but are falling much more. So we definitely need to keep an eye on this a bit more, which is why I found the article interesting that the 5-year bond sales didn't really go over well here. And Japan also has to do something. The yen is performing catastrophically. I'm jumping ahead a bit here, but that's not good. That's really not good at all. But anyway, that's another topic. Let's go back to crypto and Bitcoin. As I said, it's currently well on its way to having a very good start to the week. take profit one has been reached. I also expect that we will go significantly lower here. So if we take a quick look at the heat map, we basically have these two cluster solutions again. Above us, where we basically opened the short yesterday, there's another smaller cluster, but we also have a larger cluster directly below us down to about 61,400 on the 7-day heat map. That means we're simply completely inside the range. If we move up one time frame, that is to the monthly time frame, and look at where the liquidity is there, still basically the same, interestingly the same clusters, but the liquidity below us increases significantly, which is why I still assume that we will definitely see another sell-off. If we look at the spot order book, that's too little, especially for a Monday, or let's say Tuesday with the Asia session, that's way, way too little. So we're barely seeing around 10 million in average volume here, and that's way, way too little. Of course, we're dropping, so people are buying, but that's not enough to push the prices up significantly in any way. That's why I still expect that we will fall much, much lower here. Also because it makes it clear that sooner or later we'll get rate hikes, and that we're no longer in this easing cycle at the moment. Sure, the chances have now dropped a little again, but as I said, it's still 5 weeks until we have the next interest rate decision, and a lot can happen until then. Who knows how the talks between the US and Iran will continue? That's still the big unknown at the moment. That's why the short stays long as well. We just keep playing the range and see how long that works. Protect your positions. And if I do anything with the long position, I'll definitely let you know. Let's move on to the altcoins. With Ethereum, wow, it hurts. So I actually wanted to go short on Ethereum too, as you know, but you can see for yourselves, once again, there was that inaccuracy, or rather the accuracy of Manu came into play. It was effectively 0.38%. Oh no, it was 0.02% where the order didn't get filled. It happens. Maybe someone on another exchange was able to catch that, but I definitely couldn't. That would have been a really, really perfect move. Now to the downside, here we actually saw a 4% sell-off in Ethereum. That also means for me at the moment, it looks a bit like this could be a big A, B, and now here comes the final C down. That means we can set our price targets. Here we can already possibly determine them from our low up to our top. This would mean that we could fall somewhere into the range of $1,624 down to $1,580. As I said, it could happen, but we can definitely already draw the box here with a possible buy zone. It's not set in stone yet. I'll definitely let you know in the next few days when we get down into these regions. But according to our ABC, that would fit perfectly. Let's move over to Solana. Same game, but yesterday we didn't talk about going long here because Solana has really performed strongly, I have to say at this point. Really, really strong even beforehand. That's why no short position was triggered here. I actually like the volume during the sell-off. It's decreasing even though we're still falling. But as I said, Solana is absolutely uninteresting to me. So up here, it worked well. But now to enter any trade here, please keep your hands off it. Let's move on to the Forex sector. Dollar above 100, won by now. We're slowly approaching this zone that we marked a few months ago with the Japan intervention. Let's see. The dollar is definitely holding up way, way too strong. And that's why we saw the first sell-off yesterday as well. What also needs to be said is that USD JPY yesterday, though we have to look at the 1 hour time frame, once again either intervened or something else happened. You can see it here, a short rapid sell-off and immediately bought back up. So Japan is completely screwed. Japan has to do something, whether it's an emergency meeting or not. Ueda is coming back now, which means there has to be some movement in the whole picture. Gold. It's not surprising at all that we're dropping significantly lower again here. The dollar is running supreme. Chances for further rate hikes are still there. That means we should still reach the $4,000 range here. I know, guys, I've been saying this since at least March or February that we're going down there. But when it happens, you'll be happy. Believe me, for me, it's also like a weight just falling off my shoulders. But that's just how it is. Silver, same game. We're once again in this buy zone. I'm still not going to buy. I'll let you know if any of my orders get triggered here. All right, let's move on to the traditional markets. The DAX is just drifting along. The Dow Jones was relatively strong yesterday, I have to say, almost reaching a new all-time high. Or did we get a new one? No, we didn't get a new all-time high, but still, it was relatively strong, I have to say at this point. And if we compare that a bit with the NASDAQ is also still at a very, very high level, but that's the difference. If you look at it a bit, price action, all-time high, slight sell-off, sideways phase. NASDAQ, no new all-time high and more sideways movement. You might think, okay, maybe there's a bit of rotation out of tech into safe havens instead. I'd like to remind you of Wertef and Eaton, our two energy stocks, which are absolutely shooting to the moon. So you can already see that. And MedPace is also performing relatively well. So the healthcare sector, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. For me, it's still a bit of a warning signal to make sure the whole thing doesn't go wrong. WEEX significant increase, but well, that's mainly because if we take a quick look at Google, Google lost, I think, 5% yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And after hours trading, yes, 5.7%. You can see here, this is our buy zone that we've already talked about, also in the live streams. Speaking of live streams, we'll be live again tonight at 8 p.m. I'm looking forward to it. Then Amazon as well. Same kind of sell-off, but everything is moving, I'd say, in the direction we want it to go. So overall, we're still in our ABC correction. It's the same story here, of course. With Google overall, it's also an ABC. And last but not least, what about Microsoft? No, but Microsoft is also well on its way to completing our ABC. That means we're slowly getting back into these areas. But I did buy one more stock, and that was Palantir. Palantir is on the way to the final E. And you can see down here, that's at $109. I bought the first tranche yesterday. That means, to be fair, we should definitely move the box a bit higher here. But just so you know, Palantir was bought again. Since the all-time high, if we take a look, we were at $222 here. We've now dropped by 46%. That's why I bought the first tranche again. The next one will only happen between 110 and 95. Of course, I'll let you know as always. And I also posted it in the Telegram group yesterday. So you'll definitely get the latest info there, plus Take Two, just as additional info for you. Take Two is GTA 6. Yesterday, I took the first 25% profits on the options warrant because the thing just shot straight up over the last few days. Taking profits is still the most important thing. And otherwise, I'd say that's it from my side for sure. We'll definitely hear from each other again. Tonight at 8 p.m., we'll be back with the live stream. And otherwise, I'd like to wish you all a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk again this evening. Until then, ciao, ciao. And as always, stay crypto.